Good morning. My name is David Kew, and I'm the chair of the Board of Trustees here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick, Maine. Today is July 11th. This week, our Charities with Soul is The Gathering Place, and The Gathering Place was formed in 2010 to give daytime shelter, friendship, and hope to the material poor or homeless. On the first day, The Gathering Place had 7 guests, and now on a typical day, there'll be between 80 and 100 guests at The Gathering Place. Our service today will be led by Ed McCartan. Ed grew up as the 4th of 4 boys in an Irish immigrant family on the south side of Chicago. He joined the Carmelites, a Roman Catholic religious order, in high school and completed his secondary education with them in Massachusetts. Over the years, he's earned 5 advanced degrees in subjects such as theology, philosophy, art education, and painting. He's led a varied and interesting life with ups and downs as an artist minister. Today, Ed is a well-respected painter, a passionate advocate for social justice, and a spiritual leader. He lives in Brunswick. The subject of today's service is my story. So welcome and enjoy the service.
Hi, this is Phil Studwell, representing the Gathering Place in downtown Brunswick behind Hannaford, in the same campus as the Soup Kitchen and the Clothing Bank. And I wanted to thank you for selecting us as the recipient of this month's UU Charities. You have been so generous in the past, sponsoring us with the concert series 2 years ago, and please keep it coming. We're a great organization. We've got about 50 volunteers, several staff, and we're helping Brunswick neediest, most on the edge citizens. We're a welcoming place. Stop by yourselves. But now, give money. We really could benefit. We've got a new staff we've hired, a community navigator who's working out really well, Alex Bessie. He's helping our guests access resources, and he just hit the ground running in April, and we need your support now more than ever. Thank you.
Wall, I heard a young girl calling, Michael, they have taken you away, for you stole true value scorn, so the young might see the morn. Now a prison ship lies waiting on the bay. Watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing. We had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's so lonely round the fields of laugh and rye. By the lonely prison wall, heard a young man calling. Nothing matters, Mary, when you're free. Against the famine and the crown, I fought, they cut me down. Now you must raise our child with dignity. Oh, lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. By the lonely harbor wall, she watched the last star falling as a prison ship sailed out against the sky. For she lived to hope and pray for her love in Botany Bay. Now it's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. Oh, lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. It's so lonely round the fields.
Good morning. My name is Ed McCartan, and I'm a member of the UU Church here. I've enjoyed I guess it's about 6 or 7 years I've been here at least. And this morning, I've been asked to tell my story. And so that's what I'm going to do. I hope you can bear with me and enjoy some of the ups and downs and circular motions of an artist minister at one point. So I look forward to talking with you.
Rejoice Imagine that, a Hoot and Olive story written by Jonathan D. Voss. Olive had a great big imagination, which was only just a smidge smaller than her huge heart. Her best friend, Hoot, had a heart that was equally big. His imagination, however, well, one rainy day, Hoot discovered something unexpected. Olive tugged on Hoot's wing. "Let's go on a pretend adventure," she said. "Rainy days are perfect for that." Hoot agreed, but in the very moment he tried to imagine something magnificent, he imagined nothing at all. "I lost it," said Hoot. "Lost what?" asked Olive. "My imagination," he replied, "and I can't remember where I had it last." Then he got more upsetting ideas. Or maybe my imagination is broken." "I don't think it works like that," said Olive. "But if it is broken, we should try to fix it." "How?" said Hoot. Olive was puzzled. "Actually, I don't know. You just pretend like something is, even though it really isn't." Just then, the rain began to beat harder against the window. "I know," she said. "What if the water gets higher than just a little and the puddles grow really big?" Suddenly, Olive felt the house lurch. "Hoot!" cried Olive. "Did you feel that? We're floating away." But Hoot felt nothing. "It's only a puddle," he said, looking outside the window. Olive sighed. A puddle isn't a very good adventure. Then she got another idea. "It looks like an antenna," said Hoot. "Because it is," said Olive. "Your head must be all scrambly. That's why your imagination isn't working." "How clever," said Hoot. "A head unscrambler." Olive led Hoot into a room filled with shadows. She gasped. "Do you see that?" she said. "In the corner." "See what?" asked Hoot. "The GIANT," Olive whispered. But Hoot saw nothing. "Maybe I blinked," he said. "Or maybe it's worse than I thought," replied Olive. So Olive tried earmuffs. "For your leaky ears," she said. "How else could your imagination be escaping?" "I guess that's why they tickle sometimes," said Hoot, following Olive to the cellar. They stepped into the dark. Something fluttered. Olive froze. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. "Fairies!" But Hoot heard nothing. "These ear mufflers might keep my insides from coming outside," he said, "but I can't hear anything with them on." So Olive tried something sleepy, then something upside down, and then perhaps 1 or 10 other somethings, but nothing worked. "Maybe I can't be fixed," said Hoot. "Or maybe you're not really trying," said Olive. It was quiet for a long while. Finally, in a small voice, Hoot spoke. "Why is it, when my imagination is the thing that's broken, it's my heart that hurts the most?" "That's it!" shouted Olive. She had forgotten the most important part. "You have to imagine with this," she said, placing her hand over Hoot's heart. "Should I try again?" asked Hoot. "You should always try again," said Olive. Hoot closed his eyes. "I see something," said Hoot, "but it's so small." "That's how everything starts," replied Olive. "If you want it to grow, you have to love it." So Hoot imagined again with his whole huge heart. "You did it!" shouted Olive. "Of course I did," said Hoot. But that was only the beginning. When the clouds broke and the world sparkled in the sun, Hoot and Olive's imagination spilled onto everything. They sailed to far-off places and saw magnificent things. They built castles and tamed dragons. They were heroes and kings. That day, they played till their laughs finally turned to tired giggles. "Thank you," said Hoot. "For what?" asked Olive. "For showing me the most important part." Olive smiled. "What should we imagine tomorrow?" asked Hoot. "We could be pirates," said Olive, "searching for treasure." "That's an extra good idea," said Hoot. Do you think we could also imagine being friends forever? And they did. They imagined it all and so much more. Both of them, together.
Mindful by Mary Oliver. Every day I see or I hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It is what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab. The daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. We are a gentle, angry people, and we're singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we're singing for our lives. We're a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We're a justice-seeking people, and we're singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we're singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we're singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we're singing for our lives. We're a land of many colors, and we're singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we're singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we're singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we're singing for our lives. We're a gentle, loving people, and we're singing for our lives.
So, tell you about my life. I grew up in Chicago. My mother and dad came here from Ireland as young people, and it was a pretty brave move, I think, for them to come here. And my dad drove a streetcar until they changed over to buses. Then he drove a bus for probably 40 years, or streetcar and bus, 40 years. And they had 4 boys. I'm the youngest of 4. My oldest brother, Hugh, was 12 years older than I am. And he was like a father to me in many ways. I mean, my dad was a real loving, good man. But Hugh sort of introduced me to a lot of classical music, and we'd go out for the dog late at night, walking the dog, and he'd talk about the constellations and talk a little bit about astronomy. He was a quiet guy who actually saw a lot of action in the Second World War. Was saved by a destroyer after his ship, the Franklin. The aircraft carrier was hit during the Second World War. So I grew up knowing about that war a little bit. And the kids on the block I lived with, some of them had brothers in the war too. We lived in it was a real nice growth, real nice time to grow up. My parents were gentle people, religious people, very simple faith, and good people, very loving. So, I'm really grateful for that. When I was a kid, my brother paid for my education at Mount Carmel High School, a high school that was taught by Carmelite priests. And I got to know those people, and I really was impressed with them. They were happy men, and they were men of service, and they really loved doing what they were doing. And it was sort of an attraction as a kid. I worked in a newsstand at night on Saturday nights, and I would serve Mass on Sundays, and they would come in and say Mass, and they were always kidding with us and friendly. So when I went to the high school, I really thought about joining that group, the Carmelites. So I did. As a junior, I had to go back a year because I had no Latin, and in those days you had to learn it. And my grades weren't that great. As someone has said, I made the top of my class possible. So, I wasn't an ace student. So I went to Hamilton, Massachusetts for my high school education from junior year on. And then after that, I'll tell you a little bit about this. We went to Niagara Falls, Canada, Mount Carmel College, where we studied philosophy for 4 years. And after that, during the summers, we always went to school too. I went to St. Bonaventure's and got a degree in philosophy. And they sent us to school all the time because we were going to be teachers. That's what we primarily did. So then I went to Washington, and I was going to Notre Dame University in the summers. And we would go up to an old camp that people let us use after summer school. And it was a group of guys, a group of men that were really good colleagues, good comrades. You got to really, these are like my brothers. And I stay in touch with a lot of those guys today. They're just, they were good men. And I think that's what my mother said, oh, you'll be back in a week, Ed. And I didn't. I stayed on and grew to like it. And I was ordained a priest, a Carmelite priest, in 1965. And the Carmelites, incidentally, were a real ancient order, probably goes back to at least the 12th century. And they became what is called a semi-contemplative order. The Carmelite nuns were very strict hermits, you might say, or contemplatives. And we weren't, thank God. But we had an active life, and we also had a contemplative life. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. So that was the life I had. And summers I came home when we were that young in the training. We were able to get home during the summer, and we'd work. I worked on the streets in Chicago. I worked worked at the Cook County Jail. It was really a good experience to work in a lot of different places. And my mother would say, well, it's spring, get out and get a job, to all of us. So that's what we do. Caddy when I was younger. So after that, I went to Mount Carmel College in Niagara Falls, did philosophy. From there, we went to Washington and studied theology and got a degree in theology. And it was a very good year. We had the boss of us, we called him Lefty because he was involved in a lot of leftist social justice issues. And we became real friendly with the people in SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And we were involved in a lot of anti-war things and social justice things. We worked with a lot of the poor people in Washington, D.C. And I was in a folk group called the Friars Five. I played the drums. So that was a way of getting out and going around the city and playing in clubs, and not pretty safe little clubs, a lot of connected with Georgetown and places like that. My first assignment was to teach at a high school outside of Chicago, Carmel High School for boys in Mundelein, Illinois. I did that, and I was going to school then too. And so I taught there for a number of years, taught art. And the thing about art was that the Carmelites were good enough to let me pursue art. Up until then, I was just doing little things in art, painting, sets for plays and things like that. But they really encouraged me to work in art. So I did that. And then when I was teaching there, I was asked if I'd want to be on a campus ministry group at Marquette University. And I said, yeah, I think I'd like to do that. So it was an interdenominational group with a Jewish rabbi and Episcopal priest. And it was really a nice group. And I had a coffee house down in an old building on Wisconsin Avenue, and kids could come in. And it was nice working with them. But it also led me to leave the priesthood. I fell in love with a graduate student, and I decided I want one of those. I wanted to get married. So I left, and I did get married, and I continued with my education. I went and got a MFA, it's called, from State University in Albany, SUNY, and a degree in education from University of Bridgeport. So I kept doing this stuff because I wanted to stay in education. I really liked it. I liked working with young people. So after I left, I looked around and I got a job in a variety of places. I wound up teaching at Russell Sage College in Troy, New York, and also Emma Willard, which was a girls' school. I taught there for 22 years. And then I retired and moved out here. And my wife had gone to the East, gone to Maine in the summers. And I thought that would be fun. Why don't we do that? So we did move here. And we've loved Brunswick. And it's been a great place. Now, the other section of this little talk is supposed to be about my spiritual growth. Well, I think the spiritual growth for me has been to open more, to trust my own personal experience. A lot of my paintings, and incidentally, my parents really were accepting of my art. They weren't artists. There were no one artists in my family, but I used to do little paintings, and they would give me a place to work and things like that. So I was really grateful for that. And so I painted even in the seminary a little bit. I didn't have that much time to do that, but I really enjoyed the art. And for me, the art was an expression of what I felt about life. It was a liminal thing, you might say, something that led from spirituality to everyday life. And I still believe that. I believe that I'm still trying to be an active and contemplative person. So I'm involved in things like, as the African American people have said, pray with your feet. So I've tried to do that a little bit. I work with a college guild which corrects papers for inmates. Just a few things. I worked at the soup kitchen. They chased a lot of us older folks from the soup kitchen during the virus, but I think we'll be going back. And I read with a young kid in read together programs, and just a number of things. And so I think that idea of not just being a person of prayer, which I try to be, not very well, and a person of activity or service to my brothers and sisters is something I've tried to do. The Social Justice Committee at the UU. And that's one thing that has led me to the UUs. I love the Catholic Church. I go to Mass when I can at the local parishes and things. But the UUs too, what I was impressed with were the people of the UUs who seemed very healthy and very responsive to issues that they find in society, as I do, and when I can, within reason, and keep that up. So praying with one's feet, and I believe that I believe that we are held in existence by the beloved, by this loving God, who I'm grateful for. And I try to say thanks for my own existence. As I'm getting older now, I think every day I say, thank you for that. I'm still upright, and I'm grateful for everything that God has done for me. She has been wonderful to me. She has really allowed me to meet. I think one thing, I've met wonderful people all along my life. I think those people have been the milestones in my life to tell me what's important. And I've been reading a guy named Richard Rohr and Matthew Fox, people like this, who say that Jesus was a wisdom teacher, a Moshe Moshedim, who really told people what the important things of life were. So I've been trying to read those things and meditate, and also be open to a lot of the things that come along in my life that point towards wisdom, putting the emphasis on giving and letting go of things, not needing as much stuff as I used to, living a somewhat similar, simple life. We look at our simple lives here, and they're nothing compared to the people of the world, the suffering of the world. So my life has been really very good. I'm thankful for every moment of it. The people that I love, the people that have been passed my way in life, have been examples to me of how you live. And so that's pretty much what I try to do. I paint. I enjoy painting, and I have a little studio down in the basement of the old Bath Memorial Hospital, and it's a mess, as Pat Moore could tell you from being around here, stumbling around trying to tape this. But it's a working mess. And I'm in the Center Street Gallery here in Bath. I'm in River Arts. So I try to keep my work out there when I can, and I enjoy it, and I'm not going to go down in history, but once you settle into that, once you settle in and say, I'm just a grain of sand on this big seashore, but I'm a sacred grain of sand. Jung talks about holding the tensions of opposites. I'm in a Jung discussion group, and I really like that, because we see the imperfect as the most important thing rather than trying to be perfect. The good is the better thing than being perfect. So it gives excuses to me, my own stumbling around. But I'm grateful for running into those people. I'm in a couple of discussion groups, and it's just being with good people who are questioning, people who don't have all the answers, people who are tolerant and open and sensitive to others. That's who I want to hang with. And I've been fortunate in my life to be with people like you, and I hope to continue that.
There must
I forgot to mention that I'm been the pastor out at Popham Beach in the summer, which is great because I love to walk on the beach. And so now I can preach on Sunday, 10 o'clock service, and walk on the beach afterwards. So my prayer for all of us is that we wake up to the riches that we have, that we realize that we are loved deeply, and that we see the sacred in others and in nature. Everything around us is sacred. Someone has written that God hides behind the ordinary, the everyday. And I'm trying to put that into my life. I don't do real well at it, but I wish for all of us that we can wake up to the person sitting next to us, the kids in our life, our grandkids, those people who are our partners, and really be aware of this possibility of love and service in our lives. So that's what I ask for. I ask for God's blessing, His continued amazing love that we have. Amen.